This week, a listener wonders if it's normal or even possible to simply fall out of love and what to do about it. But first, we explore red flags. What are they? Why do we ignore them? And do TV and movies downplay them? Welcome to the talking phase. Hello and welcome to another amazing episode of the Talking Phase podcast. My name is Tom, and as is true every single week, I am joined by the beautiful Fab Over 40 nominee for the cover of whatever that magazine is, New Beauty or something like that. Pam is in the running to be on the cover of a magazine as this year's Fab Over 40 person. So, Pam, how's life other than being nearly a celebrity?
Well, I'm fab way over 40. I did realize after that competition started, Nikki nominated me and I had to fill in a couple things. And so they sent me an email letting me know that I had been chosen as one of the contestants. I have a gut feeling that everybody was chosen as one of the contestants. I could be wrong. It is for Breast Cancer Awareness Week. So, I guess it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, actually.
Yeah.
Whoever
Save the boobies.
wins this contest, Fab Over 40, gets some cash and a cover on a magazine and a staycation at a spa. So a spa staycation, which are all nice, fun things. I'm flattered that Nikki entered me, but at the same time, I'm realizing that in order to stay up, I stayed at number one the first day all day because, I have enough social media to have stayed at number one. But then today I was like, well, I am not bothering people every day. And everybody's voted, and you're supposed to vote every day. Like everybody would have to vote every day for me to stay at number one. And there are people who don't mind asking for that, but I am not one of these people.
Right.
So as soon as I'm in number two now, day two. So if I drop like 3, 4, 5, I'm just gonna bow out gracefully. But
by the way, I think part of the prize should be a free mammogram
or free breast implants. Although,
well, there you go.
I'm against breast implants because I had my implants removed because I didn't want to get breast cancer. But I just feel like it's great. A lot of people have donated money to give me extra votes. I've had like $25 votes, and people on TikTok have done 20, 10. It's been a lot of fun.
That's
and I've
awesome.
really appreciated it. But when I bow out gracefully, thank you for donating and thank you for voting. But yeah, I'm not going to ask everybody to keep doing it. But other than that, it has been a great week. Yeah, it's getting cooler and I freaking love that. We celebrated Halloween, low key Halloween this week. Last week we went to a giant party and that was a lot of fun. But Halloween is on a Thursday this week, so we just stayed home and watched some scary movies. Nikki and Adam came over and we just handed out candy and had a nice evening at home on a low key Thursday. So happy Halloween, a day late, everybody. How are you, Tom? What's new?
Absolutely perfect. Everything is great. When this episode drops, I will be somewhere between St. Louis, Missouri, and Cheyenne, Wyoming. That's assuming everything goes according to plan. I'll be driving a U-Haul with a pile of shit 2008 Nissan Altima in tow.
No.
So if you happen to be driving on I-80, or I guess it's 70 right there, but anyway, whatever it is, 70 or 80 between St. Louis and Cheyenne on Friday, November 1st, and you see me, give me a wave, give me a honk, but that's where I'll be. I'll be, whatever that is, about halfway from Georgia to Utah. It's funny because, as I plan this move, it's about a 27-hour trip.
Holy shit, one way?
Yeah. And that's the reaction. But remember, I was a truck driver for almost a year. And so I drove that twice a week, every week for a year. And while it sucked, and this is an open invitation. If anybody out there is thinking of being a truck driver, send an email to talkingphase@gmail.com with your contact information so I can talk you out of it. We need truck drivers, but holy shit, what a horrible life. So bottom line, I did this for a year, driving that many miles twice a week. So I could do this standing on my head, even though I don't like it.
We should have been filming all of our podcasts in person. The few times that you flew to Raleigh so that we could talk about the podcast, we should have been recording every week because you don't even mind driving that 6 hours. You should have just driven your butt up here. We could have recorded the episode in the same place. I didn't know you didn't mind driving that much. Six
Well,
hours. Now you're going to go 27 hours. We're never going to film an episode in person.
yeah, 6 hours wouldn't have been a big deal, other than the fact that, as I said a couple of paragraphs ago, I have a 2008 pile of shit Nissan Altima that I drove it over last weekend to see my nephew about 2 hours south of here, and the entire time I sat there wondering if I was going to make it.
Well, please listen to our podcast and rate and review it so that we can get more advertisers so that Tom can make some money and get a new car.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. That would be great.
You're welcome.
Yes. Well, before we get into today's discussion, Brian, what's the latest with you, my friend?
So this isn't the latest, but Pam's story reminded me of a story. So Pam, I did not know that you had your boob implants removed. I had an employee back in the day. Her name was Joe. She was incredible. But she is from Syria originally, and she had a boob job done about, I think it was 10 years ago or so, relative to this story I'm telling. So 10 years prior, she had a boob job done, and I guess there's something where you're supposed to have them checked out or something because of the implants. They can deteriorate. Well, mind you, she had her surgery done in her home country of Syria. Mm-hmm. And one day I'm in my office doing work diligently, only to have my door burst open, and in a very broken English accent, Joe saying, "Brian, my boob popped. I need to go to the doctor."
I've heard of that happening.
Oh my God. Yeah. And she's like, she's holding her boob. And I was so uncomfortable because how do I talk about that without getting fired? So I said, "Joe, go do what you got to do." And that was that. But that was the
problems.
Yeah, that was, well, yeah, 100%. But that was the only experience I've ever had with something medically going wrong, I guess, with a boob job, which I didn't know was a thing. So there was my my experience with the silicone sensations.
Well, I've seen that happen a lot. Like, you hear a lot about that. Like, reality TV contestants are always having their boobs pop. I didn't have any problem with mine for 20 years, but they did link implants with a certain type of breast cancer. And I'll be honest, after 20 years, I turned 50 and they were heavy. And I just decided small boobs are in. And so, they're average, but I'm a lot more comfortable without them. But at 30, when I got them, I sure loved them. But, we change, we get older.
Well, small boobs may be in. What we do know is they're certainly not out. You get it?
Yes, I get it. Yeah. Well, we do our best with what we have. It's a small boob girl's world. That's all I got.
Tom, what would be the equivalent for men of getting a boob job?
Penile implant.
I don't even want to talk about it.
Penile implant.
Is that a thing? I've heard. Okay, so I've heard of the thing. Have you guys heard of the guys who are short kings that decide they want to be tall kings, so they get the shin implants?
Yes.
That sounds painful.
What?
The Darth Vader shit. Yeah.
Yeah, they break their shins and they will extend their legs so these dudes are taller.
And that's just so that they can use whatever God gave them between their legs, because they probably can't afford also a penile implant.
Oh my.
Anyway,
on that
note, I feel like this conversation is going no place good.
Yes. So what are we going to talk about, Pam?
All right. Well, so here's the deal. I saw a video this week on TikTok. We did an episode a couple weeks ago on a new show that I absolutely loved called Nobody Wants This.
I loved it.
Of course, I'm on the side of TikTok where people are talking about the show, and I'm listening and I'm nodding my head and loving what they're saying. And I just find that it's kind of taking the social media by storm. It's everywhere. And this girl made a video on the show, and it's a long video, 10 minutes long. And all she did in that video was talk about all of the red flags in the show that each one of the main characters had ignored. And I'm listening to this video. I really wanted to scroll by it as we do. But I just kept listening. And all of a sudden I found myself shaking my head and thinking about these specifics. And realizing that I think no matter how much I tell myself this is not the case, that I am always keen to put on a pair of rose-colored glasses when I meet somebody that's attractive, tall, makes me laugh, kind. It doesn't matter at that point. My rose-colored glasses are on, and I'm not positive that I see the person moving forward for who they are or just for who I want them to be. And that was my takeaway from the video, and I felt like it really spoke to me. And I think that we tend to see things that allow us to continue relationships that might not be good for us.
So let me see if I got this straight. So you love the show. Nobody wants this, and I love the show.
Loved it.
Oh my gosh, I binged it. I think I watched it over like a day and a half because remember that was what was it 2, 3, 4 weeks ago
Right.
that you gave me homework to watch that, and
Right.
it was great homework.
Very enjoyable.
Yes.
I'm
And
scared to watch. I was going to watch it again. I'm scared if I watch it again, I'm only going to see all the things I heard about in that video.
right. Because when we were talked about a couple of weeks ago, it's, oh my God, did you see that kiss? And that's how women want to feel and all this. And now this lady comes on here and says, all right, let's be real. This is not, because you sent me the TikTok and you said you need to see this. This is a different perspective.
Right.
And so I will tell you, this is what I got out of it. First off, the lady who made that TikTok, I don't know who she is. I don't know if she's like a marriage counselor or a therapist or something. She kept saying, in my experience, this, and trust me about this. So I don't know what her background is or why we should trust her, or think her experience means shit. Maybe it does. Maybe she's got a degree in experience. I don't know. But I will say that it is very clear. This was a 3-part video, by the way. There were 3 parts to that video, and each one of them was like 9 or 10 minutes long. So this is not something she just kind of whipped up. She spent a lot of time thinking about it.
Uh-huh.
And my impression, and you might refute this as well, she hates men. That lady just hates men because she basically said that Noah, the main character, what was his real name? Adam Brody?
Yeah.
Oh, so Adam Brody's character, Noah, was just basically a pile of crap in every way. She had nothing good to say about him. And so I just got the impression that she just doesn't like men at all. Just the way she talked about him and men in general.
Can I interrupt you before
Please.
you keep going? So I watched most of the 3 parts of her video. I don't know that I came to the same conclusion that she's a man hater as much as she's somebody who has clearly been hurt. But that really isn't even what my takeaway was. My takeaway was that almost everything that she mentioned, there are some extreme examples she gave, but almost everything she mentioned that would have been a red flag, let's say it's just her opinion, I also saw them as red flags once I listened to her explain why. And I didn't even need her explanation. I mean, I have been in enough relationships where I realize that if there's something that I really dislike about my partner, but I'm happy about the majority of the things, but there's something that's really stuck in my craw, like a deal breaker, that I am very capable of glossing over that and telling myself that it's not a big deal. And at the end of the day, I think that some of those things probably should be seen as a big deal.
Yeah.
And I think that was her point in this series, was that TV shows and movies are romanticizing relationships that probably shouldn't. Those people probably shouldn't be together. But from someone who doesn't have a list and doesn't really know specifically what she's looking for, and I'm talking about myself in the third person, yeah, I am the queen of overlooking red flags. And I think she was just trying to open people's eyes to the fact that if we overlook too many things from the very beginning, from the first date, from the third date, from the first meet, if we are already overlooking things, like a guy who just broke up with his girlfriend 5 minutes ago and is
Yeah.
now in love with somebody else a couple weeks later, Tom, you specifically have a rule that says you shouldn't be in a relationship for 1 year after a breakup.
After marriage.
Well, but this was a really serious relationship, years long, bordering on an engagement, and he rebounded, because you can't really call it anything other than a rebound. He rebounded into this new relationship without 5 minutes of thought
Mm-hmm.
for the woman that he had just left. And honestly, if that's not a red flag to every single woman out there, I don't know what is.
I agree. I agree with you 100% on that. And so, obviously, when I labeled this TikToker a man hater, it wasn't because of that, because I agree 100% on that. For me, it was stuff like she said that he had no ambition, that he didn't know what he wanted in life, and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? This guy has just worked his entire life to have the career that he has sought his entire life, and was
Yeah.
literally just offered his dream job.
All right, well, don't give away too much about the show, but you're
Yeah.
right that there were plenty of points that I disagreed with, but it really made me very introspective of how we were just talking about that kiss. Like, if I meet somebody on a first or second date and they were to kiss me like that, my rose-colored glasses would be glued to my ears. Like, I mean, I think that it's a personality flaw. Even in my last relationship, I came across multiple things and multiple conversations about things that we did not see eye to eye on.
Mhm.
I'll even name a few. He had a strong dislike for feet, and so he would prefer to never see them. And so I said I was perfectly okay never getting a foot massage. But hell, I really like feet massage. If I don't get one, is it the end of the world? No. But like, I was self-conscious every time I was barefoot or every time my foot got near him. And so, was that a red flag? Maybe a little bit, but not a deal breaker. So I just ignored it. There were other things like he didn't want you to ever fart in his presence unless it was an accident. And so my family, I hate to admit this, we have like running fart jokes, and like there's a lot of farting in my house. And so I haven't, of course, in the beginning, when you just meet somebody, you're trying to like hold it in. But in this situation, like I'd have to get up from the couch, and sometimes you get up and they just like, blah, 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 blah. And I was like getting up, squeezing my cheeks as tight as I could. And then I was thinking, can I really do this like forever? And I was like, well, he's a really nice guy. Maybe I can do this forever. So I'm just saying, like, there are a lot of things that I think being open and wanting a relationship, I think there are a lot of things that we overlook or say, I can deal with that. It's not a big deal. But you know what? Maybe it is a big deal.
Well, and see, to me, so if you look at those two examples that you just gave, taken,
I have more.
I know, but taken by themselves, they're not that big of a deal.
Right.
But and so I've talked about this before. My first marriage, my dad taught all of us, all five of his sons, that the two most important words that a man can learn are "yes, dear," which I don't agree with. But he drilled that into us for so many years that I just kind of, as soon as I got married, I thought, okay, well, my job as the husband is just to agree with her, just keep the peace at all costs. Now, I don't want to say that my dad was a pushover, but it's because my mom was a saint and she did not take advantage of my dad's willingness to give in. But my first wife was not the saint. And so she took advantage of my willingness to give in. And so all of those little things that I thought I could ignore, that I could put up with or whatever, I just swept them under the rug until one day the mass under that rug was too big. I couldn't ignore it anymore. And so again, taken individually, they aren't big deals. They're
Right.
not red flags. They're pink flags or whatever you call them, yellow flags.
I don't know.
And
They're red flags, but they're just not deal breakers. So
yeah,
I don't know if I even believe in a pink flag. I mean, there is either something that you enjoy and like, or there's something that really upsets you and bothers you.
yeah. And you know what's so funny about it is that when I got remarried, whatever that is now, 20 something years ago, um, when I got remarried, I thought, okay, I'm not going to sweep those things under the rug now. I've learned my lesson.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm going to be more, verbal and vocal about things that bother me, but I wasn't. And so looking back, hindsight's always 2020, of
Ain't
course.
it though?
And I can look back and I can say, look, I can now admit, because I didn't know it at the time, I can now look at it and say, look, I was just afraid to be a two-time loser. I didn't want to tell the world I was divorced twice. Um, I was afraid that my friends and family would say, I told you so. They, and the one that's the most embarrassing is that I was afraid that I would never find anyone again if I stood up for myself and ended up being divorced again. That's just, it's kind of embarrassing to admit that, but that's reality.
Yeah, but now I think that's why you've created this list that you have, so that you won't put up with things
Yep.
that you have put up with in the past. Because I know, we've all, not everybody, but if you're on TikTok, or we've talked about the list a lot. Tom has the entire list in videos on TikTok in a folder on Talking Phase podcast page. It says Tom's list, so you can hear his list anytime. But for me, I'm not a believer that people are two-dimensional. I believe that we are more than a list, but I can understand taking things that you have put up with in the past and saying no more and putting them on a list. But the problem is that, yes, I do tend to put on rose-colored glasses, because whether it's a long distance relationship or passing gas or not liking feet, no matter what it is, I, like you, and this is also embarrassing, I realize in hindsight that I wanted to be in a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I was ready to really just put it all into one person instead of first dates and swiping and friends and all of that. I was really committed to making one person happy, and I forgot about the fact that I should be also thinking about myself being happy. And so I kept those rose-colored glasses glued to my face, because even though I took the time to make my own list, and it wasn't a list of what I was looking for in a partner, it was a nitpick list of all of the things that I felt he nitpicked about me. I had a fucking nitpick list with 10 things on it, and I was still dating him. So rose-colored glasses, it's a
Mm-hmm.
lot. It's about a lot more than what we want in a relationship. It's also about just wanting a relationship, just wanting that
Yeah.
comfort and that security.
Yeah. Well, I completely agree. I mean, that's one of those mysteries of, why do we become colorblind just for the color red? Um, when when you meet somebody, and by the way, when JD McCabe, the guy that was on my old podcast that wrote the book The Third Gift, he's the one who gave me the advice to write that list. He said, try to have your list before you get into that emotional relationship, because once you're in that emotional relationship, you've become colorblind.
Yeah,
Um,
and it's a great point. I'll never have a firm list like you do, but yeah, the further in you are, the darker red the glasses have to become, because otherwise you have to end the relationship.
yep. And
And
that's
if
hard.
right. I mean, and I think that goes for a lot of people that listen to the podcast that are dating somebody or in a relationship where they're spending a lot of their time thinking, this is not my person. This is not the person that I should be spending the rest of my life with. But the alternative is more first dates. And
Yeah.
so unfortunately, a lot of times I think that, you know, a bad relationship or a relationship that is not meant to be forever all of a sudden looks better than the alternative. And that's unacceptable. We should not be looking for better than the alternative. Will I be single forever if I stop accepting rose-colored glasses and better than the alternative? Maybe. Maybe I will be like last week's episode, and I will be, preaching about being single forever. Is that my goal? Absolutely not. But I do know that I need to take my rose-colored glasses off, if not just for my sake, for the sake of the people that I might meet and date, because it's not fair. It's not fair to have one foot in and one foot out of a relationship just because it's better than dating.
Yeah. I
Better
agree.
to be single, I think. So
yeah. And the thing is, we talk a lot about my list, and again, we're not doing an episode about my list, but
right.
the thing about my list that I think it's important is that people have commented on TikTok, and you've made comments about it too, that I'm unwilling to compromise, which is simply untrue. I'm unwilling to compromise on certain things.
Well, the things that are on the list.
Exactly. But
There's
not
like
everything is on the list.
But 18 things are on the list. There's a lot of things on the list. And I know that there will be plenty of people that will check all of those boxes. But checking all of those boxes still doesn't mean that it's going to be your person. It just means that they fit certain parameters that you have set for yourself based on your past.
Exactly. Well, not all of them are based on my past. Like, for example, the first thing on my list is I won't date a smoker. I've never dated a smoker.
Okay.
So they're not all about my past. They're just things I'm unwilling to compromise on. And so that doesn't mean I'm unwilling to compromise. It just means that on these items, and 26 things, it may sound like a lot, but I don't think there's anything unreasonable in there. I'm just unwilling to compromise on those 26 things.
Right.
And those are just the things I feel strongly about. I think I told you the story where my ex-wife, she asked me what color of curtains I wanted in a certain room. I'm like, I don't give a shit. I mean, I don't care. Whatever color you think is fine. And she was frustrated that I didn't care, that I didn't care enough to even compromise, because I just don't care. And I know it's a silly example, but
no, she was silly, because most women just want to make those decisions. We would like to pick the color curtains and not have the guy go, oh, I really would prefer purple or green.
Yeah. And I didn't, maybe some guys do care, but that just seemed like a weird thing for a guy to care about, and for her to be upset that I didn't care about it seemed bizarre. But for me, it's like, if I don't care, I not only will I compromise, I will not even throw in the ring. I won't even throw a towel, or what do you call it? I throw my hat in the ring.
Throw in I gotcha. Yeah. No, I and in the end, I feel like it is okay to sacrifice something that you might really want. But if you really are so deep with somebody, if you're in love with them and you're building a life together, and there's a couple things that bother you, or maybe give you like a little mini ick or something like that, I'm not saying that I am in no way saying that everything should be perfect in any relationship. If I've ever come close to something perfect, I missed it, because I don't think that's ever happened. I just feel like if you are dating somebody and you're not engaged or living together or married already, and you have a nitpick list, and there's a lot of things on there that you're being nitpicked about, that's probably not your person. If you're nitpicking them a lot, which is, I don't think that I've really ever nitpicked anybody since my ex-husband. He probably had a super big nitpick list of things that I nitpicked him about. But now I'm older and wiser at 57. So if somebody has a nitpick list for you, or you have a nitpick list for them, they're probably not your person. Because I think that if you're truly head over heels in love with somebody and you're planning a future with them, you're probably not thinking about the little things.
By the way, that brings us right back to how we introduced this topic, because one of the things that lady kept saying on the TikTok was him nagging her, which I mean, I have thought about that show since I watched that TikTok, and I don't understand what she's even talking about. I don't see how he nagged her.
I don't think that I certainly don't think that her videos were spot on
No.
about the show. She didn't like the show, and that's fine. We loved the show, but there's no question that there were so many red flags ignored that if it wasn't a romantic comedy on Netflix, the best bet would have probably been to say that this isn't going to work out. I mean, in real life, I'm not sure that things often work out like romantic comedies. That's why we watch them.
Yeah.
We watch them
That's
to
called
escape
that's
into
romance.
right. We're escaping into something that is unrealistic. So, you know, I appreciated her videos and I appreciated the fact that it made me think about myself and the fact that, yeah, you know, have and wish I would say I wouldn't ever, but I have and I probably would overlook things to be happy. You know, if somebody made me truly happy, my nitpick list is probably going to have 0 things on it because I don't have a nitpick list or a must-have list. I have no lists.
Yeah. Well, but I guess if you have no list, there's nothing to overlook.
Yes, that's true. That not having a written list doesn't mean that you don't find a lot of things, you know, that you
Yeah.
would not tolerate. It
I
just
will.
means that you find them as they happen, and then you decide whether to stay in the relationship or end it based on real life data and not referring back to your list and saying, "Oh, she didn't laugh at this joke." Uncheck. See you later.
Well, just for clarity purposes, that's not on my list. She doesn't have to
I
laugh at
was
my
I
joke.
wasn't being specific. I just
Oh, I
meant
know.
like, you know, it's just I just don't think it's so cut and dried. Maybe someday down the road we do need to do your list and at least debate some of your list.
Yeah, maybe we'll do that. Let's do that and debate some of them. You have the list, and if you don't, I can send you a copy of it, and you can go on and say these are the things that I think are stupid or ridiculous or unrealistic or whatever, and I can defend them. That'd be a fun episode, I think.
We'll see about that.
Okay.
All right. So I guess we have finished that. We should all take our rose-colored glasses off.
And write a list.
Take them off. Don't write a list. But don't ignore too many red flags because it only ends in disaster.
Agreed. All right. So next,
You've got mail.
Wow, that's coming in fast and hot today. All right, here we go. Hi, Pam and Tom. I have been with my husband since I was 27, female, and I am currently 43. 37, 38, 39, 41.
16 years.
All right, that's good. Lately, I have just been feeling so different towards him. I honestly prefer when we are apart, and I keep finding myself thinking about my future with another person. We have 2 kids that we adore, and we spend most of our time as a family. The issue is he hasn't done anything wrong. He is so kind and loving. However, I don't romantically feel connected anymore like I used to.
Uh-oh.
Go away to Europe soon without the kids, and I know that means that I will have to be more romantic and fulfill his needs, but I cannot see myself having intercourse with him anymore. It's consuming me, and I'm not sure what to do. He has no idea that I feel this way because I have always made sure to make him feel wanted and to make sure that everything's okay. It's weird. I just randomly seem to have fallen out of love with him, and now I don't even find him attractive. Oof. It's hard because we share a whole life and all of our friends, so breaking up would mean I would lose a lot of my friends too. Any advice would be great. I just can't stop thinking about it because it would hurt him so much. All out of love is how she signed it. And hot damn, what do you got, Tom? What would you like to say to all out of love?
Wow. I have a lot of thoughts, and some of them are mean, and some of them are not so mean. So I'll start with the not so mean. The first thought is, this is horrible. I feel bad for both of them. My meaner thoughts are, yeah, I'm sorry. This doesn't sound that random. Like, oh, I just suddenly fell out of love. And she said at the beginning that she keeps imagining herself with someone else. So, but she doesn't say a specific person.
Oh, it's probably Noah from the show.
Right. Yeah. Maybe she watched the show.
Rom-coms are ruining marriages everywhere.
Yes. To me, it sounds like she's found someone else, and she just
See,
isn't giving the full story here.
right, and that crossed my mind, but I feel like when you're sending an anonymous email to a podcast, there's really no I feel like this email could have easily said, "I've started to have feelings for somebody I work with or somebody that I met." Um, so I'm gonna give her the benefit of the doubt that she's not cheating, and that she's obviously, she says she's thinking about it all the time. That's all I would be thinking of. But when I read this email, I thought a lot about my marriage. And I thought about the fact that there were many times throughout our marriage where we were fighting or not getting along, or even where things were fine, um, that I started to question whether I was still quote unquote in love with him. And I wasn't thinking, so much about who I was going to be with if I wasn't with him, but I would be a liar if I said it didn't cross my mind that I thought being with somebody other than him would make me much happier.
Mm,
So if I equate that to her saying she thinks about being with somebody else in her future, and it's somebody that's not specific, just in general, and the fact that she's worried about turning her whole world upside down, ruining her family, losing her friends, screwing over her kids. I mean, if you take it from if I look at it from that perspective, it's heartbreaking. People fall out of love all the time. Um, Clearly, as always, I'm going to say the person she should be talking to is him.
right.
It sounds to me like her biggest concern is how much this is going to hurt everybody around her. But I think she's already decided that this is not where she wants to be anymore. And I think it happens to at least 50% of married couples for whatever reason. It doesn't necessarily always mean cheating. We just grow apart. We grow in different directions. We're not in love with them anymore. And to stay is a disservice to the kids, to her spouse, and to herself.
Yeah, staying for the kids, that's a tough one.
Or the
Um,
friends, for God's sake, who cares?
yeah, and it reminded me as you were talking. I thought about an old Huey Lewis song. Do you remember the lyrics to "Stuck
I
with
want a
You"?
new drug.
No, um, says we've had some fun, and yes, we've had our ups and downs, but been down that rocky road. But here we are, still around. We thought about someone else, but neither one took the bait. We thought about breaking up. Now we know it's much too late. And here's the chorus: we are bound by all the rest. So family and friends, like the same phone number, all the same friends, and the same address.
Wow, what song is that? I know those words, but
Stuck with you.
oh, I
And
mean,
I'm happy to be stuck with you.
right,
Yes,
and it's a
it's
very
true.
upbeat song for a
Yeah.
very depressing topic. And so, yeah, I mean, but she's not stuck. And we live in 2024 where I swear to God, who's not divorced? I don't know any. I mean, my parents didn't get divorced. My mom passed away, but like that was the boomer generation, or even before the boomer generation. Gen X, everybody's divorced. And I'm sorry if you're listening and you're not divorced. Clearly, I don't know everyone. But everyone I know is divorced. So
Yeah.
I understand her feelings and what she wrote. She might not have written it very deeply, but it spoke to me. I have felt that way. I have felt stuck. I have felt trapped. I have felt like I want somebody that makes me feel happy better than this relationship. Unfortunately, and this I know she's listening, I'm here to tell you that we got divorced, and it's been 5 years, and yeah, I am much happier single than I was married. But if you're thinking that some white knight is going to come in and
Right.
make your life better, I'm here to tell you it ain't so. Not for everybody. And yeah, make sure that if you're going to end your marriage with this guy who's pretty great, that you're just, I mean, I don't think she gave us any other complaints.
Nope.
Um,
She's
yeah,
just doesn't feel romantically
he's a great
connected.
guy. I mean, my advice is this: you're about to go to Europe. See if you can rekindle that magic that, maybe this is what you need. If most of your time is spent with your kids or your friends, this sounds like an opportunity to try to save your marriage. And if you go to Europe, and you are intimate with him and you are on this magical vacation and you don't feel anything, as soon as you get home, tell him and either go to therapy if you think it's worth saving or end it. But I would take this trip and look at it as a second chance. There are many times in the very beginning when I left my husband that I blamed myself and felt like if I had taken a romantic trip, if we had done something more to try to save it, maybe it would have worked out. And now I have enough time and reflection period to look back on that and realize we were never going to work it out. It was too broken. But you guys are about to go to Europe.
Yeah.
So
Well, so I agree for the most part with you that I think first off, I still believe that she's already got somebody else in mind. But if how'd you sign it? All out of love.
Yeah.
If you do have somebody else already in mind, well, shame on you. Either end that or end your marriage before it goes too far. And if Pam's right, and when you say, I keep finding myself thinking about my future with another person, if you mean some random person
or an actor, some really hot actor, like
yeah,
Thor,
whoever you're thinking of,
that's
yeah,
okay.
or whoever you're not thinking of, just a random human being that you think is going to show up when you leave your husband. Well, it's not going to happen, or it very likely will not happen. It's not going to be the fairy tale story of, oh, I got divorced and immediately found this perfect guy for
Right.
more than one reason. Think about this. You've been with your husband for 16 years, I think is what we've figured out.
That's about the length of my marriage too.
And you have 2 kids. And assuming those kids were born after you were married, that means you've got a couple of kids, probably between 10 and 15 years old. Not a lot of guys want to marry or be with someone with 2 kids. That's a lot of responsibility that you're asking a new guy to pick up. And there are guys out there, and that's fine. I'm just saying that there are some red flags there for you, all out of love. And the other thing is, if maybe you talk about the spending quality time as a family, maybe you just need to reduce the family quality time and increase the couple quality time.
Yeah, that 100%. I mean, but maybe I almost feel like she's the kind of person at this point where spending time with the kids is probably more comfortable for her because it doesn't lead to intimacy, whereas this trip is going to lead to intimacy. But I disagree with you that having 2 kids, 10 and 15, the dating apps are the biggest problem. I don't know where she's going to race out there to meet this Prince Charming that's better than her husband. But I think that at this point, most people are used to dating people with kids. We happen to be in our, second half of our 50s. So I know we don't want to date people with young kids, but I think people in their 40s, they're all divorced. They all have kids. It's like the Brady Bunch out there. So
Yeah,
I
that's
don't want
probably
to
true.
dissuade her. I don't want to dissuade her from ending a relationship if she is tried everything and she is positive she cannot love this man anymore. He deserves a lot better than that. And yeah, get out there, after you've gone through therapy and gone on this trip to Europe. If it's broken, then end it and welcome to my life, no matter how old you are. And sign up for a couple of dating apps and see how quickly you wish you had worked on this great relationship with a man that treats you great.
I just want to throw one last thing in there, because I agree. Don't stay with him if you're truly unhappy. However, when I was getting divorced, and this is after I found out after I found out Trinity had cheated on me, and like 2 years later, she was having an emotional affair. And again, I was naive. I didn't understand that an emotional affair was actually an affair. I just kind of thought it was a friendship that went further than I was comfortable with.
Right.
And so here I am separated, and I was talking to a very close friend of mine, and he said, "How is it that you're still, like, you haven't filed for divorce?" And I said, "John, I have to look myself in the mirror every day for the rest of my life. And I want to be able to look at myself and know that I tried everything before I gave up." So to this lady, all out of love, try everything before you give up. Literally try. Don't just go, I don't love my husband anymore, so I'm leaving.
Right.
Try to fix it. And if you can't fix it, then you leave. I mean, that's the only advice that I can give. So it's, spend time with your husband, try to rekindle it, go to Europe, have a great time. If you don't want to have sex with them, tell them you don't want to have sex with them, but try to rekindle the relationship, go to therapy, try to fix it. And then if you really can't fix it, by all means, end it, but be honest with him about it.
Right. My ex-husband and I separated 3 separate times and got back together after therapy 2 of those 3 times and got divorced on the 3rd time. So I agree with you completely that, just don't throw it away just because you're not feeling it and you're thinking there's no hope. I think a lot of people feel so relieved when they realize that there was hope and they are looking back from their 40 or 50th anniversary and they're like, remember when, I almost left you and we went to therapy and we're still together and we saved it and thank God. So
Yeah.
take that and do with it what you will. With that said, we love your emails. We love them all, you guys. So if you have a funny question or some advice you're looking for on, what to do when your kids walk into the room because you forgot to lock the door and they're asking questions now, anything, it doesn't have to be about, breaking up or something so super serious. We love all emails and I have to read them all. So my heart breaks a lot with these emails.
Yeah.
Please send them to us at talkingphase@gmail.com. I promise you, I will read every one of them. We will try to do less damage when we give you advice, and we will try to help you in any way that we can. If you have a question for Tom, for me, if you have anything you'd like to suggest, a topic for the show, or if you just want to say hello, please just slide right into our DMs. Again, it's talkingphase@gmail.com, and I will be looking forward to reading your emails.
Thanks everybody out there for listening. We love hearing from you. We love the fact that you're listening. We love that when we hear that you've shared this. So please take a moment and share our podcast with your friends and family. Please rate and review the show on your favorite podcast app. Tell us how you feel about today's episode. See if you think All Out of Love is already checked out too much. Also, we've never done this on this show, but because of the date that this is going to be dropping, I am going to ask all of our listeners here in the U.S. Vote. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for.
Get out there and vote.
Please take part in probably the most sacred thing we have as citizens of this country is the vote. So please take advantage of that. Other than that, we do this every single Friday, new episode every single Friday morning. Be sure to follow us on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and of course, YouTube and whatever app you're listening to. Rate, review us everywhere. It really helps us out. And until next Friday, this is Pam and Tom, and we are signing off.
Hey, and before we sign off, if you are listening to us on Spotify, you can now comment directly onto the video, the page the video comes out on. That's a new feature. We are allowing comments. So feel free, if you're listening on Spotify right now, to go ahead and go over there and leave us a comment. I read all of those too. And have a great day, a great week, a great month. Go vote. See you soon.
See ya.